The dragon named Valdris had been trapped under the mountain for 800 years. Long ago, he was one of the most powerful creatures in the entire galaxy. His body was so large that when he spread his wings, he could block out the light of small moons. His scales were harder than any metal known to science. His breath could melt rocks and turn sand into glass. When he flew through space, entire planets would shake with fear. The alien races of the galaxy had many names for him. Some called him the Star Eater. Others called him the Void Prince. The oldest races simply called him Death. Valdris had lived for thousands of years. He had seen stars being born and watched them die. He had flown through clouds of cosmic dust and bathed in the heat of dying suns. He feared nothing because nothing could hurt him. But then the Helix Confederacy came up with a plan. The Helix Confederacy was a group of alien races who had joined together for one purpose. They wanted to control the galaxy. They wanted to own every planet, every moon, every rock floating in space. And Valdris was in their way. They could not kill him. Many had tried. Armies had fired their weapons at him. Entire fleets of warships had attacked him at once. Nothing worked. His scales were too strong. His power was too great, so they decided to trap him instead. They sent him a message. They told him that on a small blue planet called Earth, there was a creature worthy of his attention. A creature that could give him a real fight. Valdris was bored. He had not faced a real challenge in centuries. So he flew to Earth to see this creature for himself. It was a trap. When Valdris landed on the mountain, the ground opened beneath him. He fell into a deep hole that the Helix Confederacy had spent 50 years digging. Before he could fly out, they activated their machines. Chains made of pure energy wrapped around his body. The chains were not strong enough to hurt him, but they were strong enough to hold him still. Then they collapsed a mountain on top of him. Millions of tons of rock fell on Valdris. The weight pressed him down into the earth. The energy chains kept him from moving. He was stuck, buried alive under a mountain on a planet he had never cared about. But that was not the worst part. The Helix Confederacy knew something about dragons that few others knew. Dragons like Valdris did not need food. They ate radiation and heat. They could survive by absorbing energy from stars or from the hot center of planets. As long as there was heat, a dragon would never starve. But dragons needed water. Water was sacred to them. Water was life. A dragon could go without water for a long time, maybe even a few years. But eventually, without water, a dragon would start to suffer. The dragon would not die. That was the cruel part. The dragon would just suffer forever, burning with thirst that never went away. The Helix Confederacy built machines around Valdris that pushed all water away from him. Every drop of rain that fell on the mountain was directed somewhere else. Every bit of moisture in the soil was pulled away. Valdris was left in a prison that was completely dry. And so his torture began. The first few years were not so bad. Valdris was angry, but he was strong. He believed he would find a way to escape. He pushed against the chains with all his power. He tried to dig through the rock with his claws. He breathed fire until the stone around him glowed red. Nothing worked. The chains held him. The rock did not move. And slowly, terribly, the thirst began to grow. After 10 years, his throat felt like it was filled with sand. After 50 years, his scales began to crack. After 100 years, every breath felt like swallowing broken glass. Valdris tried to call for help. He sent his thoughts out into the universe, hoping someone would hear him. No one answered. The Helix Confederacy had told everyone that Valdris was dead. They had shown fake proof. The galaxy celebrated the death of the monster. Never knowing he was still alive and suffering above him, the world changed. Valdris could feel it through the rock. He felt the footsteps of primitive humans walking on the mountain. He felt them build small villages nearby. He felt wars shake the ground. He felt cities rise and fall. The humans did not know he was there. To them, the mountain was just a mountain. They gave it a name. They built trails on it. They came to look at the pretty views and take pictures of the trees. Valdris tried to reach their minds. He sent his thoughts to every human who came near. He begged them to help him. He promised them anything: power, wealth, knowledge of the stars. But human minds were strange. They were loud and busy and full of thoughts. His whispers got lost in all that noise. No human ever heard him. Years became decades. Decades became centuries. Valdris stopped counting. He stopped hoping. He stopped believing that anything would ever change. The thirst never stopped. It burned in his throat every second of every day. It was the only thing he could feel anymore. The only thing he could think about. He remembered water. He remembered drinking from cosmic rivers that flowed between galaxies. He remembered rain falling on his scales. He remembered the cool, sweet taste of melted ice from frozen moons. Those memories were torture now. Sometimes, Valdris wondered if he had done something to deserve this. He had killed many creatures in his long life. He had destroyed ships and burned cities. He had never thought about whether those actions were right or wrong. He was a dragon. He did what dragons did. But now, trapped in suffering, he had nothing to do but think. Maybe this was punishment. Maybe the universe was making him pay for all the pain he had caused. If so, he had paid enough. 800 years of constant thirst. 800 years of being unable to move. 800 years of being completely alone. He had begged the stars for death. He had prayed to gods he did not believe in. He had screamed into the darkness until his mind felt like it would break. Nothing helped. Nothing changed. The great Valdris, terror of the cosmos, prince of the void, had been reduced to a dried-out husk buried under a mountain. He had no hope left. He had no strength left. He had nothing left at all. Until one summer day, a crack appeared in the wall of his prison, and through that crack came a small human girl with a juice box in her backpack. Emma Park was 7 years old, and she was having the worst day of her summer vacation. It had started out fine. Her family had woken up early to go hiking on the mountain. Her mom had packed sandwiches. Her dad had brought his camera to take pictures of birds. Emma had been excited because her parents had promised they would have a picnic at the top. But then her brother Danny ruined everything. Danny was 12 years old and thought he was better than everyone because he was in middle school. He had brought his 2 best friends on the hike, and the 3 boys had spent the whole morning running ahead and leaving Emma behind. Emma's legs were shorter. She could not walk as fast. Every time she caught up to them, they would laugh and run ahead again. At the trail marker near the old oak tree, Danny had promised to wait for her. He had looked her right in the eyes and said he would stay there until she caught up. Emma had believed him because he was her brother, and brothers were not supposed to lie. But when she reached the trail marker, Danny was gone. Emma stood there alone, looking at the empty spot where her brother should have been. She could hear him laughing somewhere up ahead, his voice getting smaller as he walked farther away. Her eyes felt hot. She wanted to cry, but she was too angry to cry. She was also a little bit scared. The forest was big, and she was small, and she could not see her parents anywhere. They were probably far behind, walking slowly and looking at boring plants. Emma kicked the rock as hard as she could. The rock flew off the trail and bounced into some bushes. She heard it rolling and rolling, going much farther than she expected. Then she heard it fall. The sound was strange. Not like a rock hitting the ground, more like a rock falling into a deep hole. Emma looked at where the rock had gone. The bushes were thick, but she could see something behind them. A dark space in the side of the mountain dotted a crack. Emma knew she should stay on the trail. Her parents had told her 1,000 times, never leave the trail. Never go exploring alone. Always stay where people can see you. But the crack was glowing. A soft blue light was coming from inside it. Not bright, but definitely there. Emma looked up the trail where Danny had gone. She looked back down the trail where her parents might be. Then she looked at the glowing crack dot. She was already having a bad day. What was the worst that could happen? Emma pushed through the bushes. They scratched her arms a little, but she did not care. The crack was bigger than it had looked from the trail. It was wide enough for her to fit through if she turned sideways. She squeezed inside. The crack led to a tunnel. The tunnel was dark at first, but then more of that blue light appeared. It was coming from crystals in the walls. They looked like the pretty rocks in her mom's jewelry box, but much bigger. Some of them were as big as Emma's head. The tunnel went down. Emma followed it, one hand on the wall to keep her balance. The air was cool and dry. Her footsteps made soft, echoing sounds. After a few minutes, the tunnel opened up into a huge cave. Emma stopped and stared. The cave was enormous. It was so big that she could not see the ceiling. The blue crystals covered the walls like stars, making everything glow with soft light. But that was not what made Emma stop Dot in the middle of the cave. There was a dragon Dot. It was the biggest thing Emma had ever seen. Its body was curled up, but even curled up, it was larger than her house, larger than her school, maybe larger than the whole neighborhood. Its scales were dark red, almost black, like the last light of sunset before night comes. Some of the scales were cracked. Some of them looked dry and faded, like old paint peeling off a fence. Chains of light wrapped around its body. They looked like lightning that had been frozen in place. The chains went around its legs, its wings, its neck. There were so many chains that the dragon could barely move. Its eyes were closed. Its breathing was slow and rough, like the sound Emma's grandpa made when he was very sick in the hospital. Dama knew she should be afraid. This was a real dragon. A monster. The kind of thing that ate people in stories. But Emma did not feel afraid. She felt something else. She felt sad. The dragon looked so tired. So weak, so alone. It reminded her of the old dog that lived down the street. The one that was too sick to play anymore and just lay on the porch all day. Emma took a step closer. Then another. The dragon did not move. She got close enough to see its face. Its mouth was partly open, and she could see its tongue inside. The tongue was gray and dry. It looked like it had not touched water in a very long time. Emma had learned about dehydration in school. Her teacher had said that when you do not drink enough water, you get very sick. Your lips crack. Your tongue gets dry. You feel weak and dizzy. This dragon looked worse than any dehydrated person Emma could imagine. Dot without thinking. She spoke. "Are you thirsty?" The dragon's eyes opened. They were gold, like two suns. They were so big that Emma could see herself reflected in them. She was just a tiny spot against all that gold. The dragon looked at her. It did not move. It did not attack. It just looked. Then, inside Emma's head, she heard a voice. It was not a sound. It was more like a thought that was not hers. The thought said one word. Yes, Emma should have been scared of a voice in her head. But she was not. The voice sounded tired, weak, desperate. It sounded like someone who had given up hope a long time ago and could not believe that help had finally come. "Please," the voice said. "I am dying of thirst." Emma looked at the dragon. She looked at its cracked scales and dry tongue. She looked at the chains holding it down. She thought about what it must feel like to be trapped and thirsty for so long. Then she took off her backpack and opened it. Inside, she had her lunch. a sandwich, some chips, and a juice box. Apple flavor. It was a little warm because she had been carrying it all morning, but it was still good. "I have juice," she said. "Is that okay?" The dragon made a sound. It was almost like a laugh, but also like a sob. "Anything," the voice said. "Please, anything." Emma walked up to the dragon's head. She was not afraid of its teeth, even though each tooth was bigger than she was. The dragon was too weak to hurt her. She could feel it. She found a small gap in the chains near its mouth. She pushed her juice box through the gap and squeezed. The juice poured out onto the dragon's tongue. It was only a little bit of juice. Maybe enough to fill a small cup. Nothing compared to how big the dragon was. But the dragon acted like it was the most precious thing in the world. Color spread through its scales. The dull red became brighter, like fire waking up. Its breathing got stronger. Its eyes became more focused. "More," the dragon whispered. Asterisk child, can you bring more? Asterisk Emma thought about this. She thought about her parents and Danny and the trail. She thought about how she was supposed to be having a picnic right now, not talking to a dragon in a secret cave. "I can bring my water bottle tomorrow," she said finally. "But you have to promise not to eat anybody." The dragon looked at her for a long moment. Then it made that sound again. "That laugh sob? Asterisk I promise, little one." "I promise." Asterisk Emma nodded seriously. A promise was a promise. And even dragons had to keep their promises. "Okay," she said. "I'll come back tomorrow. My name is Emma." "Emma," the dragon repeated. "My name is Valdris." "That's a cool name," Emma said. "I have to go now. My mom is probably looking for me." She turned and walked back toward the tunnel. At the entrance, she looked back one more time. The dragon was watching her with those big golden eyes. "Don't worry," Emma said. "I'll bring lots of water. You won't be thirsty anymore." Then she squeezed through the crack and went back to find her family. Valdris did not sleep that night. He could not stop thinking about the little girl. For 800 years, he had tried to reach human minds. He had sent his thoughts to thousands of people who walked on the mountain above him. Hikers, campers, park rangers. He had begged all of them for help. None of them had heard him. But this child, this tiny human named Emma, had heard him on the first try. He did not understand why. Maybe it was because children's minds were simpler, less crowded with worries and thoughts. Maybe it was because she had not learned to ignore things that seemed impossible. Or maybe she was just special in some way he could not explain. Whatever the reason, she had heard him. She had looked at him without fear. And she had given him juice, apple juice, from a cardboard box with a little straw. Valdris had drunk from cosmic rivers. He had swallowed the melted ice of frozen moons. He had tasted water so pure that it glowed with energy. None of it had ever tasted as good as that warm apple juice. The night passed slowly. Valdris watched the blue crystals glow in the darkness. He listened to the silence of his prison. And for the first time in centuries, he allowed himself to feel something dangerous. Hope. When morning came, he began to worry. What if the girl did not come back? What if her parents had found out what she did and forbidden her from returning? What if she had decided that helping a dragon was too scary? The hours crawled by. Each minute felt like a year. Then, finally, he heard footsteps in the tunnel. Emma appeared with a backpack that looked much heavier than yesterday. She was out of breath, like she had been running. "Sorry I'm late," she said. "Danny kept asking where I was going. I had to wait until he was playing video games." She opened her backpack and pulled out 3 water bottles, the big kind that adults used when they went to the gym. "I took these from the kitchen," she said. "My mom might notice they're gone, but I'll tell her I was really thirsty." She walked up to his mouth, just like yesterday. One by one, She opened the bottles and poured the water through the gap in the chains. Valdris drank. The water flowed over his tongue like liquid gold. He felt it spreading through his body, reaching parts of him that had been dead and dry for centuries. His scales grew brighter. His muscles grew stronger. The cracks in his skin began to close. It was not enough to free him. The chains were still there, and he was still weak. But it was enough to make him feel alive again. "Thank you," he said when the bottles were empty. "You can't know what this means to me." Emma sat down on the cave floor, crossing her legs. "Why are you stuck here? Did you do something bad?" Valdris was quiet for a moment. No one had ever asked him that question. The Helix Confederacy had not asked. They had just attacked. And for 800 years, he had been alone with his thoughts, wondering the same thing. "I was a hunter," he said finally. I flew through space and took what I wanted. I destroyed ships. I burned cities. I never asked if it was right or wrong. I was a dragon. I did what dragons do. "So you were a bad guy," Emma said. "It was not a question. I suppose I was. But you're not bad now, right?" Valdris thought about this. He thought about all those centuries of suffering. All that time to remember the things he had done. All that time to regret. "I do not know what I am now," he admitted. "I am tired. I am broken. I have had 800 years to think about my life, and I do not like what I see when I look back." Emma nodded like she understood completely. "My teacher says everyone can change if they want to. She says the past doesn't have to be the future." "Your teacher sounds wise. She's okay. She gives too much homework, though." Valdris felt the corners of his mouth, trying to smile. He had not smiled in 800 years. Over the next few weeks, Emma came back every day she could. Sometimes she brought water. Sometimes she brought juice boxes or sports drinks that she bought with her allowance. Once she brought him soup in a thermos, but most of it spilled before she could pour it through the chains. Each time she visited, Valdris grew a little stronger. His scales healed. His voice in her mind became clearer. The chains flickered and dimmed, losing power as he gained it. But more important than the water were the cows losing power as he gained it. But more important than the water as he gained it. But more important than the water were the conversations. Emma told Valdris everything about her life. She told him about school and her friends and the boy named Tyler who kept pulling her hair. She told him about her dream of becoming an astronaut and flying to space. She complained about Danny and how unfair it was that he got to stay up later. Just because he was older, Valdris listened to all of it. He had not realized how much he had missed simply talking to someone. In return, he told her about the universe. He described planets made entirely of crystal, where the mountains sang when the wind blew. He told her about creatures that lived in the hearts of stars and species that communicated through colors instead of sounds. He explained how space was not empty, but full of wonders that humans had not yet discovered. Emma listened with wide eyes, asking questions that no one had ever asked him before. Why were some stars red and others blue? Did aliens have pets? Was there a space princess somewhere out there? Valdris found himself looking forward to her visits more than he had looked forward to anything in his long life. This small human had given him something he thought was lost forever, a friend. One day, about 2 months into their secret meetings, Emma came to visit with a serious look on her face. "I have a question," she said. "The aliens who put you here, are they coming back?" Valdris had been waiting for this question. "Yes," he said. Someday they will come to check on their prisoner. When they find that I am growing stronger, they will try to stop it. Will they hurt you? They will try. Emma's face got harder. She looked angry in the way only children can look angry. Pure and fierce and completely honest. What about Earth? She asked. Will they hurt Earth? Valdris wished he could lie to her, but she had been honest with him from the beginning. She deserved honesty in return. Asterisk. When the Helix Confederacy learns that a human helped me, they will see Earth as a threat. They already fear what your species might become. This will make them afraid enough to act. Asterisk. What does that mean? Asterisk. It means they might try to destroy your world, or control it, or make sure humans never leave your planet. Asterisk. Emma was quiet for a long time. Valdris watched her face, wondering if she would regret helping him, wondering if she would stop coming. Finally, she spoke. Then you have to get strong enough to stop them. Valdris blinked. What? You're a big, scary dragon. When you get out of here, you have to protect us. That's fair, right? I helped you, so you help Earth. She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Like a 7-year-old making a deal with a cosmic dragon was perfectly normal. Asterisk. You would trust me to protect your world after everything I told you about what I was? Asterisk. Emma shrugged. You were bad before, but you're not bad now. You're my friend, and friends help each other. Valdris felt something wet in his eyes. It took him a moment to realize what it was. Tears. He had not cried in thousands of years. He had thought he was not able to cry anymore. Very well, Emma Park, he said, his mental voice thick with emotion. Asterisk. I will protect your world. I swear it on my scales, my fire, and my ancient name. No harm will come to Earth while I still live. Asterisk. Emma smiled and pulled another water bottle from her backpack. Good, she said. Now drink up. You have a lot of getting stronger to do. Summer was almost over, and Emma Park had become very good at keeping secrets. 3 months had passed since she first found Valdris in the cave. In that time, she had visited him almost every day. She had brought him hundreds of bottles of water, dozens of juice boxes, and once, an entire gallon jug that she could barely carry down the tunnel. Her parents thought she had developed a love for hiking. Her mother said it was wonderful that Emma was spending so much time outdoors instead of watching television. Her father bought her new hiking boots because her old ones were getting worn out. Danny thought she was weird, but Danny thought everything was weird. He had stopped paying attention to what his little sister did a long time ago. None of them knew about the dragon. Valdris had changed so much since that first day. His scales were bright again, glowing like fire in the darkness of the cave. His eyes were clear and sharp. His voice in Emma's mind was strong and warm. The chains around his body flickered like dying candles, growing weaker every day. He was almost free. Emma sat against his snout, which had become her favorite spot. His breath was warm and gentle, like sitting next to a fireplace. The blue crystals on the walls cast pretty shadows that danced when she moved. Tell me another story, she said. Valdris made a low rumbling sound. He had been telling her stories all summer. Stories about space and aliens and adventures that seemed impossible. Asterisk. What would you like to hear about? Asterisk. Tell me about the bravest thing you ever saw. Valdris was quiet for a moment. Emma could tell he was thinking. She had learned to read his silences over the summer. Short silences meant he was choosing his words carefully. Long silences meant he was remembering something important. This was a long silence. Asterisk. There was a planet called Varus 7, he finally said. Asterisk. It was small and cold, covered in ice and snow. The creatures who lived, they were not warriors. They were farmers and builders and makers of beautiful things. Asterisk. What happened to them? Asterisk. The Helix Confederacy wanted their planet. There was a rare metal under the ice that the Confederacy needed for their ships. They told the creatures of Varus 7 to leave, to find a new home somewhere else. Asterisk. That's mean. Asterisk. Yes, it was. The creatures refused. They said Vareth 7 was their home. Their ancestors were buried there. Their children were born there. They would not leave, asterisk. So what did they do? Asterisk. They fought. Not with weapons, because they did not have weapons. They fought with their bodies. When the Confederacy ships tried to land, the creatures stood in the way. When the soldiers tried to march forward, the creatures linked arms and blocked them. They could not win. They knew they could not win. But they refused to give up. Asterisk. Emma leaned forward. Did they survive? No. Valdris's mental voice was sad. Asterisk. The Confederacy killed them all. Every last one. But something strange happened after that. News of what the creatures did spread across the galaxy. Other races heard the story. They saw that a small, weak species had stood against the most powerful force in the universe and refused to bend. Asterisk. And then what? Asterisk rebellion started. On 100 different worlds, creatures who had been afraid of the Confederacy suddenly became brave. They remembered Vareth 7. They said if those simple farmers could stand up, so could they. Within 50 years, the Confederacy had lost half its territory. Asterisk. Emma thought about this. So the creatures won after all. Just not in the way they expected. Asterisk. That is correct. Their bravery changed the galaxy. That is why I never forgot them. That is why I say they were the bravest thing I ever saw. Asterisk. Emma was quiet for a while. She was thinking about bravery and what it really meant. Valdris? Yes? Were you on the Confederacy side? When they attacked Vareth 7? Another long silence. Asterisk. I was not there for that battle. But I had done similar things for them before. I had helped them take other planets. I had burned cities that refused to surrender. Asterisk. Oh. Asterisk. Does that change how you feel about me? Asterisk. Emma looked up at his huge golden eyes. She could see herself reflected in them, small but clear. No, she said finally, because that was the old you. The you that exists now would never do those things, right? Right. I would die before I did those things again. Then that's what matters. Emma smiled. My teacher says people are not their mistakes. People are what they choose to do next. Valdris lowered his head until his nose touched her shoulder. It was a dragon's version of a hug. Your teacher is very wise, he said. But I think you are wiser. The weeks continued to pass. Emma's 8th birthday came and went. She had a party with cake and presents, but the best gift was one she could not tell anyone about. That night, she snuck out of her house and went to the cave, where Valdris had spent hours making the crystals glow in different colors, like fireworks frozen in stone. It's beautiful, Emma had whispered. Asterisk. Happy birthday. Little one. Asterisk. But not everything was happy that summer. Sometimes Emma came to visit with red eyes and a sad face. Those days, she did not want to hear stories. She just wanted to sit against Valdris and be quiet. Her grandmother was sick. Very sick. The doctor said she might not get better. I am sorry, Valdris said one of those days. I wish I could help. Can't you? Emma asked. You're magic. Can't you fix her? Asterisk. I am not magic. I am just different. My power cannot heal humans. I'm sorry. Asterisk. Emma cried that day. She cried until she had no more tears left. Valdris stayed perfectly still, letting her lean against him, feeling her small body shake with sobs. When she finally stopped crying, she said something that surprised him. It's okay. Even if you could save her, I don't know if I would ask you to. Asterisk. Why not? Asterisk. Because Grandma is 92. She lived a long time. She told me she's ready. She said dying is just going to sleep and having a dream that never ends. Emma wiped her eyes. I'll miss her, but I don't want her to hurt anymore. Valdris thought about his own existence. 800 years of suffering. 800 years of wishing for death that never came. Your grandmother is lucky, he said. Asterisk, to have lived a full life. To be ready for the end. To have someone who loves her enough to let her go. Asterisk. Do you want to die? Emma asked. Asterisk, I did. For a very long time, I wanted nothing else. But now, asterisk, he paused. Now I have something to live for. What? Asterisk, your world. The promise I made. Asterisk, Emma smiled through her tears. That's good, because I would miss you too. The last week of summer came quickly. Anna would start 3rd grade soon. She would have less time to visit. But she had made Valdris a promise. I'll come every weekend, she said. And every holiday. And whenever I can sneak out. Asterisk, you do not have to do that. You have given me so much already. Asterisk, I want to. You're my best friend. Valdris felt his heart, that ancient organ that had pumped for thousands of years, do something it had never done before. It felt warm. Not from fire or heat, but from something else, from love. And you are mine, he said. The best friend I have ever had in my very long life. That night, alone in his cave, Valdris made a decision. He was almost strong enough to break the chains. A few more weeks, maybe a month, and he would be free. When that day came, he would leave this cave for the first time in 8 centuries. He would spread his wings and feel the open air. He would fly again. But he would not leave Earth. This small blue planet, with its strange loud humans and their impossible kindness, had become his home. Emma Park had saved his life with apple juice and water bottles. She had given him friendship when he had forgotten what friendship felt like. The galaxy would learn soon enough that Valdris was free. The Helix Confederacy would come. And when they did, they would find something they did not expect. A dragon prince who had finally found something worth protecting. On the first Saturday of September, Emma walked into the cave and stopped. The chains were gone. She stared at the place where Valdris had been trapped for 800 years. The energy chains that had wrapped around his body, that had held him down for centuries, had disappeared completely. In their place, there was only empty air. And in that empty air stood Valdris. He was standing up for the first time since Emma had known him. She had thought he was big before, when he was curled up and chained. But now, standing at his full height, he was something else entirely. His head nearly touched the ceiling of the cave, which was higher than any building Emma had ever been in. His wings were folded against his body, but she could tell that if he spread them, they would fill the entire space. His scales blazed like fire, red and gold and orange, lighting up the cave brighter than any crystal. He was the most beautiful and terrifying thing she had ever seen. For a moment, Emma felt scared. This was not the weak, broken dragon she had been bringing water to all summer. This was something ancient and powerful. Something that had once been called the Star Eater. Something that entire armies had failed to defeat. Then Valdris lowered his head until his nose touched the ground in front of her. Asterisk. Hello, little one, asterisk, he said. I have been waiting for you. The fear melted away. It was still Valdris. Her Valdris. Her friend. You're free, she whispered. Asterisk, I am. Because of you. Asterisk. Emma ran forward and threw her arms around his snout. She could only reach a tiny part of it, but she hugged as hard as she could. His scales were warm against her cheek. I'm so happy, she said, and she was crying, but they were good tears. Happy tears, as M.I. Valdris's mental voice was thick with emotion. Asterisk, I did not think I would ever feel anything but pain again. And then you came with your juice box and your questions and your kindness. Asterisk, he lifted his head, bringing Emma up with him. She laughed and held on as he rose to his full height. From up here, she could see the whole cave spread out below her like a map. Asterisk, I owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. Valdris said. Asterisk, you gave me water when I had nothing. You gave me friendship when I had forgotten its taste. You saw a monster and chose to see a person instead. Asterisk, you're not a monster, Emma said firmly. Monsters don't tell bedtime stories. Monsters don't cry when you tell them about your grandma. Monsters don't remember the creatures of Vareth 7. Valdris made that sound she had come to know so well. That laugh that was almost a sob. Asterisk, you are remarkable. Emma Park, your whole species is remarkable. Asterisk, he gently lowered his head and let Emma slide down to the ground. Then he looked up at the ceiling of the cave that had been his prison. Asterisk, the Helix Confederacy will sense that their chains have failed. They will come to investigate. When they find that I am free, they will see Earth as a danger, a planet that freed their greatest enemy. Asterisk, Emma's happiness faded a little. What will they do? Asterisk, they will try to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. They will try to control your world. Or destroy it. Asterisk, but you promised you would stop them. Remember? I remember. Valdris looked down at her with those ancient golden eyes. Asterisk, and I will keep my promise. Not because I owe you, not because it is the right thing to do, but because I have finally found something worth fighting for. Asterisk, Emma was about to respond when she heard something. A deep rumbling sound, like thunder, but wrong. It was coming from above them, from outside the mountain. Valdris heard it too. His head snapped up. His eyes narrowed. They are already here. Emma felt her heart start to beat faster. Who? Asterisk, the Confederacy. They must have had alarms set to tell them when the chains broke. They came faster than I expected. Asterisk, the rumbling got louder. Emma could feel the ground shaking beneath her feet. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling. I need to go, Valdris said. I need to stop them before they reach your cities. But you just got free. You're not fully strong yet. I am strong enough. He moved toward the wall of the cave, the one that faced the outside of the mountain. Asterisk, stay here, little one. Stay hidden. I will return when it is done. Asterisk. No. Emma ran in front of him, putting herself between the dragon and the wall. She was so small compared to him, like an ant standing in front of a car. But she stood there anyway. You can't go alone. What if something happens to you? What if they hurt you? Valdris looked at her with an expression she had never seen on his face before. It took her a moment to realize what it was. Pride. You would stand against me to protect me, he said. Asterisk, you, who could not stop me if I chose to walk past. You would still try. Asterisk, of course I would. You're my friend. And this, Valdris said softly, asterisk is why the Confederacy fears humanity. Not your weapons. Not your wars. They fear your hearts. Asterisk. He reached out with one massive claw and gently pushed Emma aside. Not roughly, but firmly. She could not stop him. I will return, he said. Asterisk, I promise. I have kept every promise I made to you, and I will keep this one, too. Watch the sky, Emma Park, and remember that whatever happens, none of this would have been possible without you and your juice box. Asterisk. Then he faced the wall and took a deep breath. Fire erupted from his mouth. Not regular fire. This was something hotter, something brighter, something that made the stone itself melt away like ice in summer. The wall of the cave disappeared, leaving a hole that opened onto the sky. Emma squinted against the light. She could see ships up there, dozens of them. They were sleek and black and covered in strange symbols. They were already firing beams of energy at the mountain. Val spread his wings. For a moment, Emma saw him the way the rest of the galaxy saw him. A dragon of the void. A prince of fire and darkness. A creature so powerful that entire civilizations had trembled at his name. Then he looked back at her one last time, Asterisk, tell your world that they are not alone, he said. Asterisk, tell them that the universe is bigger than they know. Tell them that kindness is the most powerful force in existence. And tell them that there is a dragon who loves them because a little girl shared her juice box. Asterisk. He launched himself into the sky. The battle lasted 3 hours. Emma watched from the hole in the mountain, unable to look away. She saw Valdris fly through the Confederacy fleet like a burning star. She saw ships explode into clouds of fire. She saw beams of energy bounce off his scales like water off rock. She saw him fight with a fury she could not have imagined. And she understood that this was not just anger. This was purpose. This was a dragon who had finally found something to protect. When the last Confederacy ship turned and fled into the darkness of space, Emma was crying again. But these were different tears. These were tears of awe, tears of joy, tears of knowing that the universe would never be the same. Valdris returned as the sun was setting. He landed in front of the cave, and Emma ran to him. He was hurt. Some of his scales were cracked. There were burns on his wings. But he was alive. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it," he corrected. "None of this would have happened without you." Behind them, Emma heard voices. Her parents calling her name. Her brother shouting about seeing spaceships and explosions. Half the town had probably seen the battle. The whole world was about to change. Valdris looked at the approaching humans, then back at Emma. Asterisk. Are you ready to explain to your parents why you have been visiting a dragon all summer? Asterisk. Emma laughed. Not really, but I'll figure it out. I believe you will. Valdris lowered his head and touched his nose to her forehead. Asterisk. Thank you, Emma Park, for the water, for the stories, for everything. Asterisk. Thank you, Emma said, for keeping your promise. In the years that followed, many things changed. Earth learned it was not alone in the universe. Humans built ships and reached for the stars. The Galactic Council came to negotiate peace. Having heard the story of the dragon and the girl, Emma Park grew up to become the first human ambassador to the stars. She traveled to 100 worlds and met 1,000 species. And she always carried a juice box in her bag, just in case she found someone who was thirsty, because she had learned something that summer, something more important than any lesson from school or any story from a dragon. She had learned that kindness costs nothing, that a small act of love can change everything, that even the mightiest creature in the universe can be saved by a 7-year-old girl who just wanted to help, and that, she decided, was what it really meant to be human.